How's it going, my G's? I had a recent little excursion out of the city of Bogota to go to a town called Guatavita, which was a famous town of the Muiscas, the local indigenous Colombian people. And they had a lot of traditions and cool things they would do in this town. Anyway, it was a very inspiring place. And so what I thought I would do is I would use this inspiration when I got home to do some sound design, and I created a wicked little Neurofunk loop with a new bass patch, and also I've got some cool compositional / arrangement / processing tips for you guys today as well. So what could be better than that, eh? Probably a mango, I suppose. Yeah, anyway, let's get into today's video. So I really love this loop, my G's, and I'm going to play it to you quickly, and then we'll talk about the vital sound design. I'll drop the free preset on Discord on Patreon. Well, so it's not free, it's free for patrons because it is a dope one. I want to share it with you guys. And then I'll talk about a bit about the arrangement and a little bit of post-processing, which is really important. But here's the little loop, and I hope you like it. So I really like this one. It's moving all over the place, proper neuro-funky. And let's get into the first part, which is going to be the sound design of the vital patch. So it's not actually that much of a complicated bass patch, and a lot of the magic happens in the effects section. But if we take a look at the voicing, very simply, I've got 2 sine waves and 1 saw wave and a little bit of artifact noise. So that's just a similar thing to white noise, but I made it. So a sine wave at -12 and a sine wave at -24. And there's going to be a couple of effects on each one. So the one at -12 has got the smear mode on, and it's been stereoed. And the subby low one, it has got some FM coming in from the first one. And that first one is also, it's the wide oscillator. And this one's also coming in to our saw wave, which is down here at -5. So it's forming a bit of a chord. So let's sort of run through them one by one. Okay, adding in the subby sine wave. And adding in the saw. Now let's add in our noise, which is just down here. Okay, and you can see I've got a little bit of movement already, and that's from the LFO1, just doing this sort of saw down. And this guy is having his phase modulated by LFO2, which is going at 1/2 on a triangle. And this is creating the main groove, and we're going to attach this to a couple of other things. But these are the main sections that create the sound. And yeah, very simple. 2 sine waves at 2 different octaves, a saw wave that's creating like a chord, and a little bit of noise. Hey presto, let's go. So let's take a deep dive into the filters and the effects. So first up, I've got a filter which is taking out a little bit of the low end of my noise here. You probably don't hear it so much, but it's just cleaning out that section so that the real bassy oscillators can have the prominence in that area, unaffected by the frequencies of the noise. Next up, I've got a filter 1, which is doing all of the rest of the oscillators, and this is creating that neuro-funky sweep. And so it's on our LFO1 doing the main, movement, and that's on the cutoff of the LFO. And yeah, it's on the cutoff of the filter, sorry. And quite simply, just playing in this nice mid-range area. So we're starting down around 148 hertz, and it goes up, up to maybe 400 or so. So sort of between 150 and 400. Just really modulating that mid-range. And yes, let's move on to the effects then. The first one is the distortion. This really just saturates everything together. And what I did was I turned this up and had it quite high as I was designing the patch. So as I tweaked the FM amounts, as I tweaked the filter, the distortion was on. So sometimes it's worth throwing on some really heavy distortion before you start doing things over in the voicing. But after that, I've got a bit of chorus and really just widens the sound. I love the way this chorus sounds. The key is just to find the perfect balance in the delay section and the depth. The depth is going to be sort of how close or far away the chorus signal is to the original sound. Then just mixing it in, to taste until it's smooth. Then the compressor, just making things a bit louder by doing some sort of parallel distortion, turning the attack all the way up, the release all the way down, and then mixing in a tiny bit of this overly distorted signal. Next up, another filter, and this is doing a little bit more mid-range movement, but it's a little bit higher up. I'm just mixing in the effect on the LFO, and if you turn it off, it's a very subtle one, but it's giving just a little bit of extra interest in the sort of higher mid-range. Then I've got finally a tiny bit of reverb, and the beautiful thing about this reverb is the high end just sounds really nice, and it brightens up the sound a little bit as well as giving it a little bit of depth. So that's the Vital bass already created, and I haven't named it yet, but I'm going to name it the Muiscas Reese because I went to a little town here on the outskirts of Bogota called Guatavita, which was a famous town of the indigenous tribe, the Muiscas, who have a very cool name. So thank you for existing, and you are now a bass and will be forever remembered this way. Yes, let's get on to the nitty-gritty juicy part now, which is the post-processing and the arrangement. So what I've done for this loop is I've thrown in a couple of kicks and snares and some hats, and I've chosen samples that are really, really loud and punchy because the Reese, it has so much going on. I've got to get the ultimate top quality of samples to even hear them through the Reese, And what I had a look at when I was just playing with the Reese here, I noticed that there is a little bit of sub bass, but it's not quite all the way in there. So the first thing I wanted to do was to layer up a new sub. So I added another instance of Vital down here, which is literally just going to be doing a sine wave. And you don't have to do anything else to a sub if it's just the low part, I don't believe. I don't even saturate it, distort it. Just the sine wave and getting the level right. That's all that there is to it. And so once we got that, got our nice fat sine wave, make sure it's in the right register, of course, at the 40 to 50 hertz. Then I'm basically just going to chop out the low end from that Reese around that same area. And you can see they blend together much nicer now. And if I go back onto span, you'll see now we have all that juicy Reese, and we have also our sub, which is really powerful as well. So that's kind of fitting together perfectly, but I want to do some extra processing on the Reese, and this is the main thing I've done, which is a beautiful bit of filter magic from Filter Freak. So that takes that Neurofunk sweeping mid-range sound to the next level by giving another layer of movement, and simply I'm just modulating these two bands, sort of bandpass filters up and down on a 1/2 rhythm. It's pretty simple, and you can sort of have a look at the settings there, but nothing crazy. There was a preset called Pop Bass, which I changed to get to that result. And finally, just to touch things up, we got a little bit of LFO tool to take out the volume for the kicks to shine through, and a little bit extra low end taken out because the filter introduced a bit of extra bass, and I wanted to retake it down a bit, so together, it's sub bass as well, a little bit of LFO tool. So with our kicks and snares and everything. But But if you notice, I also had another sound in there before, which was like a little lead stab. And essentially, it's exactly the same vital bass, but just played an octave up. So I'm playing just the keys an octave higher, and then I've just adjusted the filter. It's the same filter, but it's going faster this time. And then to turn it into more of a lead, I add more reverb and delay. So convolution reverb, a little bit of the minimal rift feedback light delay. And then again, taking out a bit more low end, and again, a bit more reverb just with the chroma verb. And I've just played some notes in sort of around the Reese where there were some gaps. So I'm going to drop all of these patches, and also I'm going to bounce all the files out as samples, and I'm going to throw them all into Discord. So if you're not a part of there, you really should join, because you'll get some wicked sounds, and you'll also get to meet the guys who are and the girls. We've got guys and girls. It's a very friendly group in there. But thanks a lot for watching, my dudes. And of course, if you'd ever like to take your production skills to the next level and would like to book me for some mentorship / tuition / online lessons / one-on-one / sessions, whatever you want to call it. I call it mentorship because I feel like I want to help the student not only with their production skills, but also like your mindset and talking about your daily routine and things like that can all add into helping you improve quicker. So that's why I call it mentorship, because it's a little bit deeper than just talking about how to layer snares. At least I think that's important for me. But anyway, be happy to have some new students as well. And peace out, much love, don't do anything I wouldn't. Ciao for now, ciao Bella, bye.